Hello and welcome to the All About Ability podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Kyle Financial, specialists in mortgages and protecting your family's finances. Whether you're looking for the best mortgage for you or want to make sure you and your family aren't struggling if you're seriously ill or pass away, call Kyle Financial on 0141 447 0290 or email advice@kyle-financial.co.uk. I will include this information in the show notes. So today we are joined by Enzo Maccarinelli, and you've done a lot of great work in terms of how you've helped me and how you've been able to get in touch with me, and very responsive for the guy with such a high profile. And I really appreciate you coming on.
No problem at all, mate. No problem at all.
So you've been keeping busy during this lockdown. I've noticed a lot of early morning runs and it's motivational videos that have helped me and helped a lot of people. What made you do that?
Basically, at the start of 2020, I had aspirations to fight again. So I started training myself. I had a herniated disc, so I was debilitated for a year. I couldn't walk properly. So the thought of wanting to fight again sort of spurred me on, helped me recover. And then I just started training, started getting faster, hitting harder. And then I done one video. And I done a video and I got to the top of this hill. It's not far from my gym, but it's a steep incline. I hadn't done it for a while, so I thought I'd get up there. I decided to post a video, and in the video I said, moral of the story, don't be a pussy and get on with it, get it done. And from then, I had people just messaging me every day, oh, that was brilliant. And you know, I had some idiots saying it was bad for people with mental health, calling them a pussy, which that didn't bother me because I know my followers know how I am, know which way I intended it, and I just think it relates to a lot of people. So from it, people started asking me and nagging me to do it, and I just carried on. And you know, when I started seeing people getting fit and getting out and about and getting some fresh air in their lungs and just feeling better about themselves, you know, it means the world to me. And I put something not so long ago about saying, stop, give me thank you. You know, I have no reason but for a thank you. I'm just doing it because I want to do it. And then I started having some with stories of people, how they've changed. And, you know, I started getting a bit emotional. So I had to put a stop to that because I got this hard guy image, and you know, I don't want to be too nice.
No, I see. There's a lot of excuses right now, so that kind of talk can help quite a few people get it done and get out there. You know, so you're doing a really great thing.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to do. You know, some people, they just sit in the house and they struggling mentally, and they sitting in the house and eating junk food and they watching TV, and you know, it's just going to make them worse. You know, I've been there, I've done that. You know, when I had my herniated disc, I literally couldn't do nothing, and it wrecked me, absolutely wrecked me. I couldn't do nothing. I couldn't walk to pick my boy up from school. I couldn't stand for more than a minute with atrocious pain. And I sort of, some days I just sat down and done nothing and just lay down in the most comfortable position I could be in. When looking back, if I'd have got out and started moving a bit more freely and pushing through that pain barrier and stopped being such a pussy, I might have speeded up my recovery time as well. So, you know, I'm glad people are getting out. I'm glad people are getting out and getting things done. I know they're still having excuses. I've seen a few excuses, but you know, it's the majority are getting out and getting some work done.
Do you think that you're talking about how not doing those things and kind of lazing about worsened your mental state? How big a part do you think it plays in it?
100%. It made me bad. I was in a rut. I had a bad year. I lost my brother at the beginning of the year. 3 days later, I had a car crash which popped my disc out. And I was just a terrible year. It took me about 4 months to find proper help. I started going to all these osteopaths and things like that. And they were giving me different things to do. But actually, no one actually diagnosed it as a herniated disc. So a friend of mine, Eli Walker, used to play rugby for the Ospreys. Now got me in touch with a guy called Anthony Carter, and Anthony Carter is the Osprey physio at the time, and he went well above what was called for in helping me out. And I think if I'd have met Anthony a bit sooner, I think I could have also sped up my recovery time. You know, I went on a holiday with a bad disc. I brought everyone down. I was down myself because I couldn't walk properly. I couldn't swim. And he'd check on me. He'd phone me up most days. Make sure you're doing these. Make sure you're doing that. And yeah. And if I hadn't got out and started training and started doing what I could do, I could go on the bike for a bit. I could do a bit of weights, but I couldn't do nothing punching wise. I don't think I actually punched a bag for 9 months, which is ridiculous for me. So it just got me into a rut, and it put me in a bad state. And I'm not the type of person who talk about my problems. I'm sort of a stubborn person. You know, I keep things to myself, and you know, I like people not to do that and share it. But for me, that's always been my way. I find ways of getting myself out of these states, you know, by punching a bag and stuff like that. When I had that disc problem, I couldn't get out of the state. You know, I wasn't gonna tell anyone. And the one thing that I used to use to sort my head out and thing was just taken away from me. So, you know, I'm just trying to get people to realize how good exercise is for your mental state. Sitting in the house watching TV, eating junk food, don't get me wrong, I don't want to live like a saint. I wouldn't live like a saint myself, but just get out, get a bit of exercise, put some good food in your diet, drink plenty of water, drink enough water, and just feel good about yourselves. And, you know, it's something everyone can do.
Exactly, and I think during the health crisis that we're in just now, there's not really been enough coverage on the benefits of exercise. And
it's just mad. You know, we're going through a bad thing at the moment, and I'm not going to push on people what my problem or what my feelings are and what's going on and things like that. But exercise will certainly help your immune system, which will fight off any virus, or it's the first line of defense for any virus. And it will also strengthen your endorphins and raise your endorphins, and your body and your mind will thank you. If you've got a healthy body, you'll have a healthy mind.
Very true. I couldn't agree more. I've experienced things very similar in that regard, especially through actually permanently being in a wheelchair. You kind of have to build yourself up and realise the things you're able to do and focus on that. So I very much agree with what you're saying there. And your sort of mentality of get out and get it done is, you can tell it's so strong. And through boxing's fascinated me, and I do hit the pads occasionally. I can't ever imagine actually being in a fight and how intense that must be. And it's something I've always really respected. And something about that made me want to ask you is that when you're going through that kind of training and that intensity, how, as you were going up the ranks, you had your first defeat in 2000, but then you obviously went on to have great success after that, winning everything you could possibly win. How much do you think that early defeat kind of shaped your mindset and approach?
Massively. As an amateur, I won everything as a kid, as a junior. I won the ABAs, but at the age of 15, I was getting too big, and I was knocking kids out, and I mean knocking kids out cold. So obviously, I was a bit of a risk for anyone, especially at that young age of 15. So I had 2 years out of the ring. Done what boys do. Went out with the boys. You know, I had a good crowd of boys. None of them were into pinching cars or nothing like that, or bullies. But you know, like to drink, smoked a bit of weed, as you do, as young kids do. And at the age of 17, my father had word me, sort of threatened me, no pocket money if I don't get back. But you know, he had a quiet word with me, got me back in the gym. Trained for about 3 months, got myself in shape. This about just before my 17th birthday. Then I sparred Nicky Piper. I don't know if you remember Nicky Piper, but he was fighting for a world title against Darius Mikucheski. And as a 16-year-old, and boxed for 2 years, I was his main sparring partner. I went out there, I impressed him at the age of 16. At 17, then a week after my 17th birthday, my dad has a phone call. He said, Mario, my dad's name was. He said, Mario, have you got any elite open class heavyweights? And he said, yeah, Enzo. He said, no, I'm on about senior elite open class heavyweights. He said, yeah, Enzo. He said, look, he unboxed for a couple of years. His kid, he's 27, he's had 20 fights, lost one. or something around their marks. And we looked for a fight for him. He said, yeah, Enzo fight him. He said, look, it's up to you. He said, but I wouldn't advise it. So fight took place. I remember an article in the paper in the day. Enzo, good schoolboy, really good fighter. Don't expect too much off him tonight. He's been boxed for 2 years and he's up against it. Cut story short, I knocked him cold in a round. So I had another 2-3 fights in Wales. Then I went to Scotland. I went to Glasgow. I think it was in the Glasgow Rangers nightclub, the home nightclub. I can't remember what it was called, but the Rangers football team were there, and I think we were losing 9-0 on the fight. So I was the last fight, but I was fighting a super heavyweight. And I ended up fighting the super heavyweight. They didn't want me to fight them because of the weight difference. So they said, "Oh, you can't fight." I said, "Well, I knew it now." He said, "Oh, you can't. It's like 4 stone weight difference." I said, "No, I'll be fine." He said, "You can't." He said, "They try to pull a fast one, you can't." He said, "The trainer's not here." He said, "So we can't confirm whether you can fight." I said, "Oh, phone him." He said, "My dad's my trainer, phone him." So he said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yeah, phone him." So as he started the phone, I started getting changed. So I knew what my dad was saying. My dad just said, "Look, do you want to fight?" He went, "Yeah." He said, "Let him fight then." Again, cut a long story short, I knocked him out in the first round. And I remember Gaza buying me a pint after. He probably don't really remember, but Gaza bought me a pint after. And it was just a mad, surreal atmosphere. So I turned pro then at 18, knocking everyone out as a senior. First fight went on points, gutted. Second fight, I knocked out Mark Williams in 35 seconds. I was so gutted I went in and won on points, so I had to put that right. Then I boxed Nigel Rafferty, tough journeyman, don't get stopped, don't go down. I broke his ribs. And then I boxed Lee Swaby, who at the time was probably too much for me at that stage of my career. But I was still hammering him. I just run out of steam. And when I look back, 2 nights before, I'm in a nightclub. Not drinking, but I was out with the boys till 4 o'clock in the morning. I was captain trainer, I was believing in my own hype. And I battered him for 2 rounds. And in the 3rd round, then I just ran out of steam. And he caught me. And I went home, went out to the boys' house, smoked a joint or 2. And I woke up in the morning, I thought to myself, I will never, ever be unfit again. I swore to God I would never, ever be unfit again. And I never have. I've always kept a mentality of fitness first. Everything else would come with it.
It's some amazing stories in there, and you had a great start to your career, thrown in the wolves almost. I mean, did it feel like it was a lot at the time, or were you just embracing it and enjoying the moment?
What do you mean now? Sorry.
Do you feel like at that time, when did they sort of pressure kick in of this is something that I need to really perform? Like you say, you started to gain that professionalism and had that moment. But then was there a moment where sort of the occasion and the pressure on you as a performer started to kick in?
I don't really know, to be honest, because I remember after my I got some mad stories. I remember when I first turned pro. I think I mentioned this. When I first turned pro, I was blind as a bat. I couldn't see the top line on the board, and I used to have someone go in. I won't mention his name, but I used to have someone go in before me, memorize the line, and then come out. I'd go in and just tell what I remembered and pass the test. But I really short-sighted, and I think on my 3rd pro license, I went in. I went A-O-V-O-T-H, X-A-U-V-O-T-H. And the guy said, "No, try again." So I said, X-A-U-V-O-T-H. He said, "No, that's wrong." I said, "No, it's right." He said, "It's wrong." I said, "It's right." He said, "No, it's wrong." He said, "It's numbers." So he changed the board, the numbers. So I'm saying all these letters, and he changed it. So obviously I failed the medical. I had laser eye surgery from a young age. And then I think the first part was when I boxed Bruce Scott. I think I realised then, I could be doing something. It was my 14th fight. I was 22 years of age. I was fighting the current British and Commonwealth champion. I was fighting a 3-time world title challenger. And I think the crowd that night is still the best I've ever experienced. It was just a monster night, and I just remember. Oh, I just remember that night probably stands out more to me than most.
Yeah, I mean, you've obviously done a lot and had to overcome so many things. It's really impressive to think that, like you were saying, to be almost blind at the start of that is incredible. To have come back and had such a successful career.
Yeah, it was, I'm just a born fighter. I always have been, and every fighter has injuries going into a fight. No one was in 100%. I'd like to think I got some mad injuries that I went in the ring with, where I won't say what fights, but if I worked in an office, I'd be sent home after some of these fights. So it's either I went into one fight, a world title fight, I had 6 or 7 injuries going into the fight, and I mean ridiculous injuries, corneal abrasions, staph infections, literally blew my calf running, popped my elbow out of the socket, and I still went through the fight. I lost, but I still done all right.
Do you think that still happens today? Like fighters overcoming that extent of injury?
I suppose they wouldn't. And looking back, I probably wouldn't have gone through with half of them, just because at the time I was thinking I was just brave and not to be known as a shit house and stuff like that, which is stupid. I was totally unselfish, and I should have been selfish. Looking back, I should have pulled out, but I didn't. So hindsight is great. It worked for me, and what I am, I'm training youngsters now. I'm training amateur boxers, and if any of them had even one of the injuries I had going into one of the fights, they won't be fighting. And it was just a mad. The night I had the bad injuries, all the 7 injuries, when I boxed Bremer out in Germany, it was like I had a corneal abrasion on my left eye, which I couldn't see for a week. Come back, healed, popped my elbow, couldn't punch with the left hand. Then I blew my calf running. Then I went back sparring and I caught my corneal abrasion in my right eye. Then I had a staph infection, which I got put on a steroid cream and some sort of steroid medication to help me clear it quickly, which piled the weight on me. It was just a nightmare. I remember saying to Gary, it's somebody's telling me not to fight. And I had a chat with Gary. He said, "Look, Enzo," he says, "You're your own man." He said, "I still reckon you could beat them." And I remember looking at Gary and thinking, "Yeah, I fucking can." And didn't want to be first punch I got caught with in the night, or the headbutt or whatever. My eye closed up, and I was pretty much blind from one eye. Well, I was blind from one eye from the first to the 5th round. I remember the ref pulled me to the doctor. The doctor said, "Can you see?" And I got my eye completely closed, and yeah, of course I can. So it was mad. And I come back to the corner, and Gary said to me, "Can you see?" I looked at him with a stupid face. I said, "What the fuck do you think?" But it's part and parcel of the game. I've never been a quitter. I've never been one to look for an easy option, and it's just who I am. But I will tell you, if any of my fighters have any of the problems I've ever had, they won't be fighting.
Yeah, and it's good that you can now pass that knowledge on to them and help them through that, and have that experience of the do's and don'ts of coming through boxing and how intense it can be.
Yeah, it's a hard life. Boxing is a hard life, and I remember pulling a kid out of a fight because he lost half a pound in a sauna before the fight. That's all he done was lose half a pound. I wouldn't let him fight because I thought it was bad that he done it. So I'm not going to take no mistakes. Don't get me wrong. Every fighter has injuries. Every fighter goes in not 100%. I'd be shocked if someone come out and told me they went into a fight 100%. But some things you just shouldn't go nowhere near a ring. And unfortunately for me, I did a few times.
It's interesting that you say that, because a lot of people have had some a debate on sparring with younger fighters, and how there seems to be this suggestion that maybe less sparring is a better idea for younger fighters coming through. What's your opinion on that?
I believe in sparring. I believe in sparring to get you sharp. I believe in sparring to get your timing levels and push you sort of to mimic a fight. But you can't. I've been to some gyms. I'm not going to mention gyms. I've been to some gyms where 3 nights a week or at least twice a week they are smashing each other to bits in the ring, and for me that's not good. It's I will let my boys have an open spar. Every now and again, every once a month. But the boys are going to be so equal in level. I know nothing's going to get out of hand or no one's going to get things, but I don't believe in hammering the body through sparring, or hammering the mind, hammering the brain twice a week. I don't think I see most of the injuries I think happen in boxing happen in the gym. I've always been a believer in that, and some of the gyms I've been to in the past, and I've seen for my own eyes what they are doing in them gyms. I just looked at it and I was thinking it's mad. It's only taking days off your career, months off your career. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's benefits to sparring, but it's all about trusting the person you're sparring with, really, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, my boys, they all spar each other. But when it's an open spar, it's the two boys that are more equal to each other that I will let have the open spar. It's because I know they can look after themselves. I know they can defend themselves. I know they can throw counters. But I've seen videos of pro fighters putting up sparring and then beating some novice up. I've seen it for myself. I went over to Germany to spar, and I went over and he tried to fill me in. Robin Krasniqi, I sort of filled him in, and it was a young kid sparring Robert Stieglitz, WBO champion at the time. And this young kid, he was in the hotel with me, and he only had 2 fights, and he was getting hammered. He was getting absolutely hammered. Like, I was helping him in the corner, and I had a big argument with the trainers. And I said, "You can't be doing that." And they thing was, "Well, we paid him," and I'm thinking, "No, it's not right. It wasn't right." So I offered the spar. They said, "Oh, we paying him £1,500 a week." I said, "I spar for nothing." We weren't far off the same weight at the time. If he'd have let me spar, if he'd have let me go in that ring, I'd have fucking taught him a lesson. I just didn't like what I was seeing. I don't like people taking advantage of other people. Even when boys come to my gym from another gym, sometimes I don't realise how good or bad the boy is. And it's been a couple of occasions where my boys have been way too much for these boys, even though they're on the same levels, fights wise and things like that for sparring. Even though some of my lads are just way too good, way above them. My lads know if they take the piss, I'll drag them out of the gym. I'll drag them out of the ring in front of everyone. And I got to give it to all of them. They all got good manners. They all got good respect. And that's sort of what I'm trying to teach them as well.
Yeah, you're giving them the right sort of principles to have with boxing, which is something that the next generation really needs to be aware of these injuries and things you can have by making silly decisions and things like that. Like you were saying about, it's bringing them up in a professional environment of also respecting the opponent, which is something that boxing needs more of.
Yeah, and that's the way I was brought up. And they know 100% I will drag them out of the ring in front of everyone. But I don't need to. They're a good bunch of boys. People think I rule with an iron fist in the gym. I don't. They're all a good bunch of boys. We all have a laugh. And what I do with the boys, even though boxing's a single sport, I keep them as a family. I keep them as a team. When one fights, everyone goes to watch, and they all bond. We got all colours, all ethnicity, all just all different people, just all different kids, all different believers in whatever God they believe in. But nothing ever gets out of hand. There's plenty of banter in there, as you can imagine. There's plenty of banter, but it only happens because they can all take it. If they couldn't take it, it wouldn't happen. And I want boys coming to my gym and leaving and thinking, "Oh my God, I can't wait to come back again." And it's sort of a great atmosphere in my gym. Even if you come in off the street, you see them all loud and bustling on the bags and giving each other a bit of grief and stuff like that. But when you spend one night with them, you realise it, they're just all friends. Like, and this, I just want. When I was younger, my dad wanted me to be known when I finish. What a fighter! What a nice guy as well. And I think that's just sort of stuck with me. Some people think I'm not a nice guy, but I like not to put out there too much. But at heart, I probably am.
That old saying, "It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice," is very true.
It's no better saying. It's no better saying, and it's too many people who think too highly of themselves and doesn't give back. And when people thank me doing these videos, no thank is needed. I do it because I want to do it. Same as I boxed because I wanted to box. I didn't want the money. I don't know, the money coming in handy. I didn't want the fame. I just wanted to be a world champion and nothing else. And I think that's the reason why I never changed once.
Well, you kind of need that mentality to succeed in boxing. You have to want to be the number one. That's
yeah, but it's a lot of people do it for the wrong reasons. I just love the sport. I still do. I watch any combat sport, and I love being around the boys boxing, taking them to fights and things like that. And I just think it's an incredible sport to grow up in. I think most sports are incredible. If you're involved in a sport, it's incredible to be involved in it. It makes young women, young girls women. It makes young boys men. And just treats them, teaches them morals, teaches them discipline, teaches them a work ethic, which if you don't go on to be a great sportsman, it might give you those opportunities in life that you wouldn't have without having that sort of work ethic as well. I just think sport for young kids and older people, but especially young kids, if you get them from a young age, just installs a bit of discipline in them and just teaches them right from wrong.
I couldn't agree more. Like I say, that's especially because it ingrains that into them from a young age. It gives you that mentality. I think the mentality is one of the most important things in boxing and in life in general. Like, a lot of hard things happen, you come through it, and having that sort of mentality will stand in a good stead the whole life.
100%. When I look at, I don't know if they done it a couple of years ago. I think when they wanted to ban sports day in school because they didn't want winners and losers. I'm just thinking, is a winner and loser in life? 5 people go for a job, one person wins that job, and some of these kids they aren't academic. They one day a year is that sports day. They love that sports day. That is what they are meant to be. And I just think in life you win and you lose, and you have to deal with the losses and you cope with the wins as well.
Definitely. Do you think that training these younger fighters gives you the same sort of excitement as competing yourself?
100%. People do not realise how much I buzz from my kids fighting, and not so much that, but how some of them change their lives around. I've had kids up there with mental problems. I've had kids up there who used to be car thieves and drug addicts. Just to see them change their life around, it's just amazing. But I've always been like that. I remember I boxed in Russia for the European title 2010. As soon as I won the fight, I made them phone my dad straight away. Everyone thought I wanted to just tell my dad I won because it was like it was on TV. It was all streaming. But I phoned my dad because we had an amateur boxer in the World Championships in Azerbaijan the same day, and I just wanted to find out how he got off. That was me in the middle of the ring, and I've always been like that. And to see these kids change their life and do the things they are doing, it just amazes me and definitely makes me feel good.
You can see in your personality your want to give back is very strong. Like, even your support of like disability boxing and women's boxing has been apparent online from what I've seen from you and our friend Ebony Bridges as well.
Well, people see about disability, it doesn't stop you doing things. If it's like, I've seen wheelchair boxing, I've seen wheelchair basketball. I watch the Paralympics when it's on. Everyone can do well. I say everyone, obviously not everyone, but the majority of people disabled can do something. Whether it's on your wheelchair doing a marathon or a long distance or the boxing I seen was crazy, and take my hat off to him. And it was just, I remember posting a tweet thing and just said, as all I put in a tweet, no excuses. These two boys, they were using a wheelchair, they were punching, they defended, and to be honest, it was a good watch. And why shouldn't they be involved if they can physically do it? Why shouldn't they?
Exactly, and you could argue that sort of work ethic that's required is almost more so through having that disability.
100%. Oh, I've never been in a wheelchair, so I can't really go along after that. But I remember when I had my herniated disc, I was debilitated. I couldn't do nothing, so I sort of feel for people. And yeah, I could have sat down and I could have just done nothing and got fat and got lazy and just made things worse. And I did for a couple of weeks until I found Andy Carter. I did. And he sort of gave me a bit of motivation, and it got me pumped up to do things. He was telling me, right, if you want to fix this, you've got to do this. No matter what pain you're in, you've got to do this. And I watched some of these guys doing the wheelchair basketball, and okay, I can't walk. All right, I'll just sit down and watch TV. So that quite openly, that could be their stance on things. I can't. I've only got one arm. I can't do nothing. But then you look at, they go to shot put. They do it. They can find something to do. Obviously, like I said, not everyone, but like you said, being in a wheelchair and you want to do boxing or you want to do basketball or handball or whatever type of sport that comes with it, badminton I've seen, you've got to have that mentality. Yeah, all right, I'm sort of lacking something, but I can make up for it. And instead of sitting in the house, moping about the place, watching TV, eating junk, you're out there enjoying yourself and still competing. And I think I take my hat off to when I watch the Paralympics, see the blind sprinters. It's just amazing to see blind swimmers, and it's just potty to see. It's just crazy to see.
Yeah, it's great to hear you're supporting that so much. Like, I think more we could do with more mainstream athletes like yourself having that sort of opinion and be so invested in it.
But I got to say, I'm one of the people. I got to say it as I see it, and if you're disabled, if you're in a wheelchair, like I said, you can sit around and you can mope around, and that is your life. You can watch TV, and that is your life. Or you can think, oh, I'll try this, I'll try that, and you find something you like, you find something you can compete at, find something you enjoyable, and it changes your life. Whichever disability you got, I'm sure you can find something. Like I said, there are certain things where you can't do nothing. But if you're able to do something, why not? Why not? And get out, get it done.
Exactly, mate. One of the biggest things about it. Sorry?
Don't be a pussy.
Well, I try my best not to be, but sometimes, if it's snowing outside.
100%. Everyone gets the days. And to me, this is what I'm trying to get into people. That everyone even myself, I get the days I don't want to go out. And I think I put something the other day where me doing the videos for you lot is helping me, because some days, very rare, some days I wake up in the morning and I think to myself, I can't be bothered. But I think to myself, it's people relying on me. So for that fact, it's getting me up, and it's sorting my mental health out as well. And it's getting me out running, it's getting me out. And I'm probably the fittest and strongest I've been in the last 10 years.
That just tells a whole story in itself. And I think it's all about really making sure you use what you have and making the most of that.
You couldn't have said it better. You use what you have.
Exactly. And that's what people with disabilities have to do that through their whole life pretty much. And, it made me wonder, you see what Eddie Hearn's doing for women's boxing just now is really up the profile of that. There's been a lot of more coverage on it, and you can see how well it's doing. People like characters like Ebony Bridges and Rachel Bell and all these different people making names for themselves. Do you think that something like that could happen for disability boxing eventually?
It could be at a lower level, 100%. You know, if the demand is there, because you know, it's like you said, Eddie Hearn has been brilliant for women's boxing, and you mentioned Ebony Bridges. You know what a character she is. You know, she sort of she's just nuts. I watch her Twitter feed, and she takes no shit, and she has a laugh. And you know, he's talking about her fighting Rachel Ball, and you see the respect between them two. I seen the video of Rachel Ball, how respectful they are. You've got Katie Taylor, obviously standing out in front. You've got Terry Harper with a cracking fight with Tash Jonas. You know, a few years ago, I wouldn't have thought about watching women's boxing, but the level's getting better, and they're competing against each other. And like you said, Hearn's done amazing things for women boxing.
You've put that very well, and I think that what you've just said there about how a few years ago you maybe not watched it, but the standards improved and they've really developed. That is something that I hope that this podcast and other outlets can help do for disability sport, in the sense of showing us as athletes more so than you know, people that are like, because of course having a disability makes you in some way inspirational to people and motivating when you're doing these things, which is a big factor. But it's also, I think there's an element of we could be promoted more like athletes than we are, rather than some sort of special needs attraction type of thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally understand what you mean. And you know, it's like with women's boxing, it's going to take a while, but you never know. It could happen. When the level, you know, a couple of years ago, he wouldn't think of women's boxing. But bit by bit, some characters coming along, some good fighters coming along. The levels are coming up, and you know, getting people interested. You know, why couldn't it happen either in the other way with disability? You know, it's going to take. It's you know, there's no point in me saying 100% it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But why couldn't it? You know,
exactly.
It maybe not get to that level, but at least if you can get an audience and get people interested and things like that. And like I said, Paralympics. Well, I probably watch the Paralympics more than I'd watch the actual Olympics. So I just think it's amazing what some of these people are doing, considering the disadvantages they have.
Exactly, and I think that's, you know, the mindset required for that is underestimated in some ways, and like you say, it's just about us putting ourselves out there. I feel like the with disability, the disabled people, we need to sort of rally together and have our voices heard more than they have been in the past.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, it's you want to compete, you want to do things, you want to compete, and you know, why shouldn't you? And get things out there. I'll always watch if I'm on Twitter and I watch someone doing something at a disadvantage. You know, just makes me go, wow! I seen some guy the other day, he was doing handstand push-ups with no legs, and you know, he's lifting things. I'm just thinking, wow! Like, you know, for me, I'm that mentality. I just see someone trying to achieve something, and no, not everyone's going to be like that, but that's what I see.
And that's the way it should be seen. Is I think the idea of when somebody sees me, the first thing that most people see is a wheelchair, when in actuality they should see what the person is like as a person, the work ethic and mindset and how they approach life should be viewed more valued than that.
Unfortunately, that's life. First looks are what people go on half the time. You know, some people they just got nothing in their head where they want to look deeper. And you know, it's sort of you know, I see guys in my local gym on wheelchairs doing stuff like that. It just amazes me. But I just look at someone who's there trying to achieve what I'm achieving in a different way, and that's what it should be looked at. And you know, if I met you and I'd seen you and you was in a wheelchair, you know, the fact that a wheelchair might probably not even come up. That's the type of person I am, and that's the type of person I know a lot of people are. But you get the odd person who just doesn't look beyond anything else, and unfortunately, that is the world.
Very true, and I think the more that we speak out, the more we'll normalise, and it's people like you that really helps with that. And
if I can help in any way, I will.
Exactly. I really appreciate that, and I'm pretty sure all the people in the disability community would as well. But I wanted to go back to your career a little bit. Sorry, did I cut you off there? What were you going to say? I wanted to talk to you a bit about the David Hay fight, because
right, you cut this off now, right, and go on.
Because there was a lot of hate around that fight. You'd had 3 successful title defenses going into it, I believe, the unification, and it was dubbed that somebody was getting knocked out. That was the whole build-up of the fight. What was your feeling going into that fight and the preparation like? Because there was so much coverage of it, and people were going mad about who's going to knock out who.
It's hard for me to say. I spoke about a few things earlier on about injuries and things like that. So I don't really want to go into too much stuff, because it just looks like an excuse. At the end of the day, on the night, the better man won, and I can't say no more than that. I would like to have fought him on a different night. Would I have beat him on a different night? I don't know. I thought he was that good. Would I have had a much better chance to beat him on a different night? 100%. But as it happens, the fight happens. I lost, and on the night I lost to the better man. So I can't really say no more. I don't want to say too many excuses. People know there's a lot of excuses and real excuses. But I decided to fight. No one made me fight, and the best man won that night.
It's a very honest verdict for me, and I think that given what you said about injuries, it's fair to say that these things, sometimes it's just the timing's wrong for you and it just doesn't add up. And he was on a course to fight Klitschko and all these things, so it all.
Like I said to you the other day, would I have pulled out now what I did then? Yes, yeah. I would have, 100%.
Yeah,
but he was that good. I've always thought he was that good. I would like a much better chance, but unfortunately, not everything works out the way you want it to work out. So you just have to get on with things and try and regroup and get back.
So, after that fight, it's interesting to me how there's so much hype and pressure around it, and afterwards, it obviously doesn't go your way. How's your mental state after that, and how do you recover and pick yourself up from it?
All I can tell you is no one's seen me for a month. I sat in the house sulking for a month. Didn't cry or nothing, but I sat in the house sulking for a month. Was it because I lost? Was it because I should have pulled out and done a different night? I don't know. I just sulked for a month, and I'm that sort of mentality. And I remember then one day, and I thought to myself, "Fucking hell, just pull yourself together." And I got out and I went up the gym. And I've got to realize you've got to take a rough with the smooth in boxing. And I've had terrible lows, but I've had amazing highs. I set out to be a world champion. I become a world champion. I was a world, British, European, and Commonwealth champion. I couldn't have asked for no more. Could I have done more? Probably, if certain things went my way, but they didn't. So it's pointless me dwelling on it. It's pointless me getting upset about it. What is done is done, and you just get on with life. And like you said, you got a disability. Could you just stop doing nothing because you can't do certain things? No, you just get on with life. You get on with life and you make the most out of your life. And that's pretty much what I've done and what I did.
Exactly, and I think these setbacks are almost underrated in life, because they always make you stronger in your mentality and how you think about things and how you're able to deal with things.
And that's the mentality of someone who either have a setback and it breaks you and just finishes you forever. I still harbour thoughts about that night, but it doesn't break me. It doesn't dictate my life. Some days I'll have an hour to myself, and I'll sulk and I'll start going through things in my head, thinking, why didn't you do that and all that. But it is what it is, and I turned out I've had a good life. I set my stall out. I've done what I wanted, and I'm thankful I've had a life that a lot of people could only dream of. And I think that's when when I come across on Twitter as an openly approachable guy and stuff like that, it's because I'm thankful. You know, I could have had a lot worse a life than I have, and you know, I'm very pleased with what I've done. Maybe there's one more left in me, or maybe it's two. But if not, I got a new chapter.
So you talked about maybe there been another fight there potentially. There's still a wee bit of edge there for it.
Well, I got 49 fights. I had 50 amateur fights. I got 49 fights. I got 50 amateur fights. So I'd like to finish on 50 as well, or maybe 51. I got myself into a shape which I haven't been in for 10 years. I'm 40 years of age, but I'm just as fit as I was and strong as I was when I was 30. Whether I can fight the same is a different story. But I do feel good. I do feel strong. And if I don't do it now, and in 5 years' time, I decide to do it when I haven't done nothing for 5 years, and you know, I'll always kick myself. So that's the plan. Maybe I have one more. Maybe I have two more. That's the plan. If it happens, it happens. If it don't, I'd be gutted. But I've got my boys to train at the gym, so it's just mad. And I'm lucky in a way because we talk about disabilities, and mental health's a disability as well. And I think a lot of fighters, when they finish boxing, they got nothing. They don't know what to do with their lives, and they just go in a rut. And I think a lot more needs to be done for fighters who finish. Athletes in general, but I think fighters in particular, boxers in particular, you know, it's nothing. Can't describe the feeling of being in a ring with people chanting your name or booing you, whichever way you want to feed off. And when they finish, they've got no progression in life. They've got no options. They got nothing to do. So I'm lucky. I've got an amateur gym. I look after the boys. So I got that sort of calling. I'm going to get my pro license. A couple of people have asked me to train them as well. So I just think things need to be done for fighters when leaving the sport, especially if they are forced to leave the sport as well.
Completely agree, and I think that's something that isn't really spoke about or helped very much so. And you see a lot of fighters that are well older than yourself that are coming back, and you're like, why are you coming back to fight? It's people really miss that buzz.
Crazy. Yeah. They do it. And I miss the buzz. But the difference with me is, for 5 years, I'm boxing nearly 5 years. I've been in the gym every day for 5 years. I've done something. I've stayed active. I've stayed fit. My weight is as good as it's ever been. Some of these boys who've never done nothing. You look at the Tyson Jones fight. You know, they were just two boys who missed the buzz. Missed that thrilling atmosphere. And people who was trying to get me to slag the fight off because of the age and stuff like that. I'm not slagging a fight off. I think they're amazing what they did. But I'm glad they fought each other, not fought some young upstarts. You know, they fought each other. They passed all medicals. What's not? Why begrudge him that night? And as it happens, I thought Tyson was my idol. I thought he looked sharp at times.
Yeah, you've nailed it there, because I felt exactly the same. You've got a chance to see one of your heroes in a fight. You know, it was great to watch Tyson fight.
Oh, I was sitting in bed the night before the weigh-in, and I thought, I'm not going to watch a weigh-in. And I flicked over, and Tyson was coming on in the weigh-in. I literally had goosebumps straight away. It was just the maddest, considering, you know, 54 years of age, it was just the maddest feeling to see Iron Mike back on the stage again, flexing his arms. And it was great to see. You could see the happiness in his face. People just don't realise what sort of mental state you go through when you finish, especially if you still harbouring thoughts of wanting to be a fighter. You know, some guys can take it well, other guys can't. So it's just mad, and I think a lot more needs to be done.
There definitely needs to be more support in terms of, you know, the mental state, and how do we channel the drive of being a boxer to your life after that? You know, that's what that.
100%. I think I think Leon McKenzie. I think he's doing something. He's got an organisation trying to help fighters and sports people get into something later on in their life, and but a lot more needs to be done. What needs to be done, I don't know. but more adjustment needs to be done.
I definitely agree, and I think we're heading that way. You would like to think with the coverage on the effects of the damage you take in boxing and all these kind of combat sports, there seems to be an acknowledgement of there being more support out there. Hopefully, it's going in that direction.
Yeah, it's just the British Boxing Board of Control. They probably got the stringent medical system in the world. They look after their fighters, but I think what they have looked at is the after effects of not fighting, of not competing. I think that's the main thing that needs to be sort of recognised, and things put in place to help people. Because, like I said, I'm lucky. I'm lucky with what I've got. I'm lucky with what I've done. If I don't fight again, I'd be absolutely gutted. But it's not the end of the world for me. And I think I can do other things. I've got to do. I've looked after my money, so I can go into properly investing and things like that. I can do something, but my main thing would be a trainer. And when I am a trainer, when I put everything into being a trainer, it's all about my fighters. And it's forget what I've ever done. It's all about them. And we had a fighter, Eli. He playing for the Ospreys rugby. He had to retire for a back injury, and he turned up in a local championship boxing for me. I had all these phone calls trying to speak to me and stuff like that, and I just said, "Look, I want to go speak to him. He's the fighter, not me." So I want to take sort of that off me and put it to my boys, and I'll help them as much as I can, because some of them at a gym can't string a sentence together because they just they too dull. But no, good bunch of boys. But it's when you're talking in front of a camera, when you're talking in a radio or things like that, if you've never done it before, you get tongue tied and you start stuttering, and so that side of things I can help them with as well. Just be themselves, just relax, and just enjoy your moments.
Yeah, you're really building up. It'll be interesting to see these guys and girls as they grow into being pros and watching them and seeing how they develop, because you're obviously building the right sort of mentality there.
I got some good fighters there. I got some good fighters. I'm not going to mention no names because people are big as it is, and I'll have to put them in their place when they come back. But no, some good fighters there. Good bunch of boys, all respectful, and just got a great work ethic and discipline, and that's what I wanted to teach. It's too many. In boxing, there's too many trainers. There's not enough coaches, and I think I'm sort of coaching with my experience of how I was brought up. It is the technique side of things, the boxing side of things, or doing certain things, and it's just a lot of trainers just focus on that, and they forget these boys need someone to talk to as well. And I was a big advocate of trying to keep gyms open during this time, and I sort of got a bit of grief from some people, but they've never been grassroots level boxing, they've never been grassroots level sport, and to take a gym away from a boy who's mentally unstable, who was an ex-drug addict or was an ex-criminal and changed their life, to take a gym off him has had bad effects, and it has bad effects to some of my boys as well. And I've had to sort them out with a few things and look after them, and the other boys have rallied around them as well. And we've all been there as a family, but I know others aren't so lucky, and taking the gym off people has just wrecked a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that the gym debate has been very strong in this time as to should it be open, shouldn't it? And for me, it's like this is a health crisis. I feel like there's a certain ways that you can. I've been in gyms. Certainly, the distance and the hygiene, everything's been followed correctly, and so there's nothing more these gyms can do to be open. What more do the government want you to put in place? But
with the boxing gym, we had a set of rules we had to follow. Everyone had to be 2 meters apart. We got 14 bags in the gym, but I was only allowed 10 people in at a time for an hour. All 2 meters apart. All wipe their own bags down at the end of a session. Never swap bags. Never sparred. Done everything right. And the gym was bouncing. The boys didn't mind coming, and they were all nagging to spar, but I couldn't let them. And we done everything right, and then just taken off us. And you know, so I think someone said, "Oh, Enzo was thinking of the money." I charge £5 a week for 4 nights. That's all I charge. You know, that's all I want to cover the bill. Half the kids don't pay because they can't afford it. And you know, I think last year, I think to keep the gym running, I had to pay £600 out of my own money just to keep it running, which I don't mind because I get enjoyment out of it, and you know, I get the feeling, a rewarding feeling, seeing these boys, and it gets me out of the house for a couple of hours as well.
That just shows you about how much it's not about the money and how much you really care about these boys. It really comes through.
It never have been. You know, I wind the boys up. It's like if they come on Monday, I say subs, and they say, "Oh, can I pay you Wednesday?" I say, "Oh, we go to Tesco's, buy you food, and tell them we pay on tomorrow." Right? Yeah, no, yeah. It's just a good bunch of boys. Like they are good boys, and hopefully I fill them with a lot of enjoyment. They certainly put a smile on my face as well.
You can really feel that come through just speaking about it, so it's great to see. And you know, there's a couple of things I wanted to ask you about just boxing in general. We were talking about the Mike Tyson fight and how he came back and how the nostalgia, that was really cool. There's another Tyson kid about that's doing that bad.
Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
Brilliant. He's been so good for people with mental health. He's been really, well, just proof is in the pudding. What he's come back from to where he is now is just amazing. It's just amazing. And you know, it's him and Joshua, and you know, they both got claims to be the number one, but no one's going to be the number one until they fight each other. So hopefully, Eddie and Frank can sort something out and strike a deal, and we will see. You know, everyone's got their opinion of who's going to beat who and all that, but until we actually see it, no one knows. But Fury's been a revelation. What he's done and what he's come back from, and it's just amazing to see.
Definitely, I think he's really inspired a lot of people, and to get back to that level is incredible. And to fight Joshua, like you said, it could go. We don't really know where it'll go. Everyone has their opinion. I personally think Fury takes it, but that's just my opinion.
That's my opinion as well. But whoever wins, it's not going to be an easy night. And
definitely.
You know, I think and that's the thing. It's a good fight. I'm a big fan of Joshua. I'm a big fan of Fury, and you know, they both want it. I think they both want this sorted. I think they both want to know who the main man is and who the undisputed champion is.
That's what everyone's waiting for to find out, isn't it, really? And you know, so going back to yourself, it makes me wonder. You talk about this. You desire to have a couple of more fights potentially. Do you have a scenario in your head, like for it? Like I have to ask the question, like, is there a picture in your mind of going, this is the ideal scenario, where I want to be and who I want to face, and this is the way I want it to go down?
There certainly is. But I will say, I've been out the ring for 5 years. I'd like one against, what should I say? How would I be nice? I like one against some Latvian road sweeper. So I could just to feel going back in the ring and just to see what's left. Because you wouldn't know until you're actually in that ring. And you know, if I struggle with someone where 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I would wipe out in 30 seconds, I know that's it. But I've had it and I've done. So I'm not going to be the type to go well beyond my means. If I'm feeling good, I'll go for it. If I don't, I won't.
Again, it's a really honest opinion. I think I'm really excited to see it. Hopefully, it comes off. But again, if it doesn't, though, you really are inspiring a lot of people, and it's helping a lot of people during this difficult time. It's helped me. I know that for sure, and I really appreciate everything you're doing to help other people in this time.
I just love doing it. I love helping people. I love having the comments, people saying thank you and things like that. I've also been asked to be an ambassador for, I don't know if you follow me on Twitter, Unorthodox Boxing. They do
Yes.
things with disabilities, and they've asked me to be an ambassador, and I said yes straight away. So I'm always going to be involved in one way or another through boxing or sport, and it's just a pleasure, and it fills me with a joy just to see these people sending me videos going out running and things like that. And it was a guy the other day, he tried to take my accent off, and he said, hey, but he sounded more Indian than Welsh, but great the effort, appreciated the effort, and he went out there and he got some work done. And the amount of people are feeling better about themselves, rather than stuck in the house doing nothing, sitting on their asses, being a pussy and not doing nothing. You've got more people going out now and getting work done.
Exactly, and I think that's what the world needs right now, is people to stand up and inspire others, and you're really doing that in a strong way.
Thank you, mate. And that's all I want. That's all I want to do, is just to inspire certain people. I got a mentality which has been instilled in me from a young age, and it's not too late to get in new. And there's a lot of people who put up they haven't run for 5 years, and my videos have got them out running again, and they feeling so much better about themselves. So long may it continue. But it's lockdown, better hurry up. I'm running out of speeches in the mornings.
I think we're all getting to that point now. We're like, when is this going to open back up again?
Well, I said not so long ago, it's my last video now. We're all out of lockdown. Well, 3 weeks later, I thought, oh, here we go again. But I won't let people down. I'll come up with something each day.
Well, we'll be watching for everybody. And this has been a lot of fun. I think we covered a lot of good things in it. Hopefully it helps someone out there listening. So I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
Anytime.
Thank you, mate.